Please let's try communicate to our friends that the meeting is about to begin. I don't want to begin with this number because when I begin, they will have to come and um, me somewhere in the middle of the lectures, and I don't think that will be really productive. So if you have the time, you can alert them that the class is about to begin. So thank you very much. Anyways, as they try to join us, let's do a recap of the last section before we jump into this section. Let's not just waste the time. Let's do a recap, a quick recap, all right? And I'm sure we all do agree to that. Now we should do a small recap of the last section before we move on. So, once again, welcome to DCIT 104 with Freeman, and we are in section 4. So far, so good. We have been able to have a little bit of theory, and we have from our last lecture we had a little bit of practicals, and today we'll be doing more of the practicals. All right, today is when the coding actually gets a little bit more intense. So before we jump into anything, let us go and do a quick recap on section 3. All right, now in section 3 we learned how to declare variables and constants. When we talk about declaring a variable or a constant, in other ways we can say that you are creating a memory location, all right, and that memory location, it can either store two of these, one of these two, either a variable or a constant, okay, and there are rules to declaring a memory location which can be a variable or a constant. I spend more time on variables because the only thing that really differs variables from constants are about three things. All right. When you have been able to write a variable and you want to change it to a constant, the first thing you have to know is that you just have to put const, all right, in front of the data type, all right, whether a double, a string, a float, a boolean, whatever soever data type you declared, all right. If what we call it, a character, or you can call about integer and all. So you just put const, all right, in front of it, and then that changes it to become a constant. And then rule number 2 says that for professionalism's sake, all right, the names allocated to, or the identifiers allocated to constants should be written in all caps, and if they are more than two words, all right, making up the name, you separate each word with an underscore, all right, just to make it readable. And then rule number 3 states the fact that when we declare a constant, unlike a variable where we can leave it without giving it an initial value, for constant you have to declare a value for it initially, because it's not going to change. So if you leave it empty, the computer accepts the constant as being empty, and that emptiness is constant. It is not going to change. So even if the user is supposed to input something there later on, it's not going to work, because being constant means that whatever has been done there stays like that and it won't change. So if you don't declare anything there, which is the code will return a bug when it runs to that extent whereby you have left a constant there without declaring anything, all right? But some way, somehow, which I don't know of, is possibility if it runs it, all right, and a user is supposed to input something to be stored there. Since you didn't store anything there, it will not work with the sense that it's a constant. So whatever you did there remains like that. You understand? So that is some of the things we looked at when it comes to declaring memory locations for variables and constants. Okay, and there's not much to say about variables. All right, for variables, we learned the fact that a variable has to the centers for variable, you have to begin with the data type, and I took time to explain what data types are. And I said data types are simply the forms or various ways in which data can exist. All right, and so is there a data, a number? The data you are going to store, is it a number? Is it, if it's a number, it can be in the form of a float, all right, a double, or an int. All right, that is for integer. And if it is a group of characters, all right, or a character or group of characters, you can store it in a string. But bear in mind, there was a certain exception there that when numbers are placed into double quotes strings, okay, they can't be used to perform calculations later on unless you change that particular value back, or you convert that particular value back into being an integer or whatever number data type you want to perform calculations with. Are we okay? So we have stod, that is string to I think it's stod or std. I don't really remember. We will get there. Right, that is string to decimal, string to float, and so many. So that is some way of converting from string to a number. All right, when we get there, you understand it. Then we also learned that with variables, all right, you can after declaring the data type, all right, you have to give it a name, something to identify it by, all right. And there are rules to giving names. The rules that it shouldn't start with a number, all right, and there shouldn't be any spaces between the words. That's the use of the space bar, all right. You can use camel casing, all right, or you can use an underscore to separate. You can't also use reserved words. Okay, you can't use reserved words. There are some words that are really reserved, and some symbols as well that are also reserved, like the dollar sign symbol and then the percentage sign and all. They are really reserved, so you can't use them as variable names. All right. And after typing the variable name, all right, you see that you initially assign a value to it, which is highly recommended that you do, or you just leave it blank, okay, and don't assign anything to it. Then that is if later on, all right, a user is going to assign something into that memory location, all right, that you have created. So that is all about section 3. There's not much to really say about that section. If you really followed, you really and you would have really enjoyed the lesson, and I'm sure everybody will testify to the fact that it was a really interesting lesson. I'm hoping that today will also be quite interesting based on not only on my side. As I always say, learning is a teaching and it's a teacher and a learner process. All right, I'm a teacher and I've been teaching and I'm still a teacher. All right, I've been teaching for a very long time now. All right, and one thing I've noticed is that, all right, even though when it comes to academics being 100%, teacher comes and talk for a very long time, all right, we are expecting students to also produce something at the end of the day. So that kind of interaction, all right, is what creates that 100% perfection. Right? If I'm talking and all I do is just come and sit here and talk, and I'm not receiving any feedback from whether you understand or you don't, I don't really enjoy what I'm doing. All right. After all, I'm here to make you understand. So if I say, "Do you understand?" and somebody gives me a thumbs up or a reaction, it makes it quite interesting. Or somebody unmutes the mic or raises the hand and a question is asked, and or it makes the lesson quite interesting. And making it interesting will both benefit you and I. Right? So let's not just be there. Okay, let's try our possible best to engage ourselves. We are all here to make mistakes. That's why we are learning. Even myself, I will make mistakes at a certain point. All right, and I'm expecting that those that know better than myself can correct me. All right, and when I'm corrected, I won't. I always stand to be corrected. All right, that's the whole process of teaching. You also have to be ready to learn. After all, a master must first be ready to serve. All right, so I will serve you as best as I can. But all I'm asking for you, as you always do, you have so far so good. You have been doing your best. All right, is always try and make the class interactive. Okay, I'll really appreciate that. All right, thank you very much. Let's jump into section 4. Ryder just joined us. My studio code madam just joined us. Okay, so Ryder, I have not really missed anything. We just did a quick recap of um, section 3. All right, and then we are jumping to section 4. So if you just joined us, you have not really missed anything. All right, thank you for being with us this evening. Right, for section 4, we are going to look at how to finally complete the problem solving process. All right, and remember what I said a problem is. All right, a problem is what it is. All right, a problem is your inability to achieve a certain set of goals you have set. All right, if you don't have goals, then you don't have a problem. Or if you don't have something you want to achieve at the end of a period of time, then you do not have a problem. All right, if you lay down in bed, all right, and you are being served food, even with that one, you being hungry whilst you are lying down in bed doing nothing can be a problem, because at the end of the day you want food. All right, and if that is not given to you or that aim is not achieved, then you still have the problem. All right, so the problem will cease to be when your goal is achieved. All right, so we are going to look at how to finally complete this goal achievement. In other words, solving the problem completely. And these are, as we always do, our objectives for this evening. We are going to have a very, very, very packed class, and let's try not to um, please pardon with me if my network goes off um, at a certain point in time. Somebody can really prompt me, because network is really unstable lately, and I'm sure all of you can testify to that fact. All right, so pardon me. I'm trying my best to keep a very stable network with a Wi-Fi connection and all, but if I go off at a certain point, kindly notify me, so I repeat what I missed or you missed, all right, whilst I was speaking. Thank you very much for that. Now let us go. So today we are going to have these objectives to achieve. We are going to, at the end of the day, we should be able to get numeric and character data from the keyboard. All right. We're also supposed to display information on the computer screen. In other words, we are supposed to see out something. Okay. We are supposed to write arithmetic expressions. We should be able to write arithmetic expressions, and we know that there are various ways in doing that. Using the IPO chart. Okay, that is the input out processing output chart. All right, and we can do that with the flow chart format, or what we call as the IPO chart. All right, then we can also do that with the algorithm format. All right, where we actually write sentences beginning with verbs. All right, like input this, do that, all right, straightforward like that. Or we can use the flowchart method. All right, and we spoke about the flowcharts, talking about the start and then the end, the what do we call it, is it parallelogram, and then we also talk about the rectangle and what goes into each one of them. Okay, that one is just by the way. So we should be able to write an algorithm. All right, we should be able to type a cast value. Okay, we should be able to also write an assignment statement. All right, it's all inside there. We'll do everything today, and we should be able to code the algorithm into a program. That is where everything actually gets interesting. And then we should be able to desk check the program. That's when we run it, we deliberately make mistakes inside there to see the possible outcomes or the possible ways things can be right or wrong. Okay, then we look at or we evaluate and modify the program if or when needed. All right, so today we are going to have a very, very productive class, and I hope I can cover a lot, especially something that might not even be in a slide as I'm talking to you. I really wish I would cover if and else statements today, and probably it will be in our next lecture, but if we are able to look at it today, I'll be very, very happy. All right, I'll be very, very, very happy. And today is when I teach you these libraries and headers. As I said in our last lecture, don't really bother yourself about it. We are going to learn about it today. All right. And today the lecture is the slides are really packed. All right. The knowledge inside are really, really packed. So maybe I might not be able to complete everything, but I will really touch on the most important ones. Okay, so in case I'm not able to finish everything, especially if we don't get to this void, this part, this void part, all right, and declaring that as function headers, all right. It's a whole broad topic on its own. So if I'm not able to really get there, please pardon me, all right. We will dedicate time to do that. And after all, it's even the last thing down here. So if I'm able to get there, hooray. If not, to pardon me, all right. But we can look at the summary and get to understand the fact that we have to get a C in, how to use C in, C out, and how to type it, all right, end lines, all right. And then we are also going to have a look at the static cast operator, all right. That is if we get a time, and then we will just check everything, okay. All right, these static cast operators are used to change. That's what I was talking about, changing from a string. In case you inserted a number into a string, all right, you change it from that string to the ones you can actually perform calculations with. Okay, so that is what static cast is. All right, and I will think I'll hold on with that one for now, and because they're very, very more difficult and important things to tackle to broaden your knowledge before you get here. All right, so I will not really stress much on it. Okay, but I will give you a fair idea of, and I have actually given a fair idea of how it actually works. Okay, so as you can see, the slide did not really provide much knowledge on how to do that, so I will not really spend more time on focusing on that. It's somewhere later on, all right. So I will dedicate time to. I always maintain my promise, so I will maintain time to teach you that in due time. Okay, so now I will advise you to open your Dev C++ environment as we learn slides and go. Actually, I have read the slides, and that you see, one thing that the lecturer always did was that if you noticed at a certain point, he was kind of like pleading with us, all right, to read our slides ahead before we come to class, because when it gets to this section 4 onwards, all right, it's most of the time very difficult to work with the slides and do the coding at the same time. All right, if you get to notice, the reason why most of us were really confused during his lectures was he trying to blend the two. And if you, I stand to be corrected, but if you agree with a thumbs up, you get to that was the actual problem. All right, he trying to make time for the slides, all right, and then also go back to the coding environment. So he realized that because it won't work that way, he pleaded with that, that you just read it, get a fair idea of what is going to be done, so that when he comes and that's when he came later on, he just jumped into the coding environment and he was doing things. And that one too went against people who did not really read the slides, okay, but they just responded yes sir to the reading of the slides, but deep down inside they know say mankind. So as I say, then it got to like, what is he doing? What is he doing on the screen? So what I am going to do is that I am going to work with the slides, all right though, but I'm going to work with it in a limited order, so I can be able to touch on every important thing in a coding environment. We are going to see it being done, and I think there is nothing better than seeing the thing being done, doing it yourself, than just reading it. Okay, so let's all follow as I open the coding environment. I'll take you through every line of code I type, because this thing involves you typing every line of code. By now, you should know what an algorithm is. All right. If you are in this lecture up to this point and you have been in it up to this point and you don't know what an algorithm is, just checking an algorithm and a program is, what a flow chart is or an IPO chart is. All right. Then I'll really feel some way. All right. Because I've actually given a lot of my time and energy into making sure that you really understand this thing into depth. Okay, so at this point, we don't need to waste time on those things. We have to focus, because I have this feeling. All right, there are certain things we have to look at, the names of certain things in the slides, and we will look at that one. All right, but let's focus on getting the understanding of how the code is supposed to be. Okay, so let me go back to what I always do. There's this. Okay, let me go back to what I always do. Okay, so I open my folder. Sorry. And then which one was I using? Untitled. Okay, I think I was using this one. I didn't really give it any title. All right, so you should open or make your coding environments ready as we go through this every line of code. So today we are going to learn about what these libraries means and all. So now what is a library? All right, that's the first thing you have to include into your code when you are coming to type. All right, when we say a library, all right, as we all know, physically and around us what a library is. All right, it's a place where we go tap already written knowledge from. All right, with knowledge that has been provided by people that has done their researches about a particular topic or something, and they have provided knowledge on these things over there. All right, it might be updated, it might not be, but what if the fact is that the knowledge has been provided there. All right, all you have to do is just find time, enter there, and then what, and tap into it. So that's what libraries are also in the code. All right, they are already pre-written codes. All right, so we say it's standing on the shoulders of giants. Okay, people have already written this code, they have used this program for a very long time, and they have created libraries just to make your work quite easier and faster. So all you have to do is just go into that place and then tap it. All right, but before you can use knowledge from a library, as I stated, you have to tap from that place. You have to make yourself available there. If you don't include the library in your code, don't expect to take anything from there. All right, that's how simple I can explain it. All right, and I hope you really understand what that means. Okay, do you, or there's any question? Okay, so silence means that you do. Okay, so this is how to include libraries. All right, so the first library we are going to include, we start by typing include. Okay, then we put the particular name of the library inside this less than and greater than. Okay, so we are going to include IO stream. All right, and as its name says, to stream something. All right, we all stream things. All right, we stream things. This is a library that gives us the ability to use see out and see in. All right, that is the one popularly known from the library. All right, there are other things in the library as well, but see out and see in is what is mostly we all know that we normally use from this library. All right, so probably just to see something. All right, streaming something, that's why we build this thing IO stream. All right, and the name itself, that is input. Okay, it's that you are streaming something that's been inputted or an output, so input output stream. That's what I know that it is called. All right, but if you have another name for this, the IO part of it, maybe it has been changed. All right, but for as far as I know, that's what it means. Okay, so that's the first library we have included in our code. Okay, and please, I'll just plead that you all try and not interrupt the lesson. I'm coming to unmute all of your minds so that at any point, because I'm working at the coding environment, so at any point in time you can just, or I don't know if Vida, Vida or Joshua, you can really notify me if somebody raises their hand to ask
Sure,
a
sure,
question.
sure, sure, sure. Okay.
Right. Right. So you can notify me when somebody raises their hand to ask a question. So Ryder, let me unmute your mic as well so you can work alongside with Joshua for me. All right. Thank you very much. And let's
All
continue.
right,
So
thank you.
if any of you has a question, you can just raise your hand and then when I'm notified, I'll attend to you. But alongside, if you don't have any question, let's flow. All right. Then the next library, all right, I would like us to include is the library for strings. Okay. Funny enough, string has its own library. All right. It has its own library because, sorry to say, people make mistakes. All right, people do make mistakes. Even with typing strings, people might make mistakes. So when you include a library, all right, string, okay, what it does is that the code actually checks inside that library that what you are typing is this something that is really something that is supposed to be. Okay, that means that we can't be typing certain things like what do we call it, into a string. We can't be expecting certain things to appear in a string like the control button, the alt button, like you get it, right? Even though string accept all characters, all right, it does not really mean that you can force anything into that place, all right. And then it also makes the code able to identify the fact that what you are typing is a string. Okay, remember what a library is, all right. It gives the thing itself running your code or coding your coding environment something to go and refer from and realize that okay, the knowledge this person is saying, is it true or it's not true, or is it done this way or not. Are you okay? So it's very important that we include that as well. So as I stated earlier, we include our string. Okay, and we know how to less than, greater than, then we put inside that place string. Okay, put inside that place string. Okay, let's just try and space out to keep our codes quite neat. Okay, now there are others. All right, there are not only these two. There are so many libraries out there. Let me see. Let me just take a moment and then type so that you see so many of them. Okay, sorry, let me get this thing out of here. Okay, let me just type libraries. Okay, libraries. Okay, in C plus plus. I think I already have what do we call it, something there. All right, like I've already created a document about that, but I'm not going to really go and then go and look for it. I don't know, I don't really remember where I placed the document. Okay, so we have libraries for C plus plus. Let's see what is provided for us here. Okay, library in C plus plus. I wish this, okay, this AI will provide something for us. Okay, so from what it is saying, all right, oh, didn't really like give us anything properly. Yeah. Okay. It didn't really give us what I'm looking for. All right, let me just add examples to the thing I type. All right. Examples. Let's see what it says. Okay, so they are here. All right, this one is one. CMath is one. Okay, all these things are libraries. Okay, and they all have certain things they present to your table. They all bring certain special things to your table or certain special information to your table. So you can see CMath being used here right under IOStream. Okay, and we can also see vector being used here. All right, so they all have something they do. Okay, we can also have string, our not too strange, we just learned it. Okay, we can also have algorithm. All right, here. Okay, algorithm is also new for us here. They all have, you can go and read on them, they all have something depending on what you want to do. So algorithms contains functions for algorithms like sorting, searching, and all. Okay, so they all have, and we have map. Okay, map also is a library. All right, gives you a set of pre-written codes. There are so many, you can go and look at them. Okay, there is not, it's not anything too difficult to look, and we are not going to be using all of them for the purpose of this lesson. We are not going to be needing all of them, so there's no need for me to really spend time on them. All right, and what do we call it? So I will just add I'll just add, in fact, these two is enough. All right, we just know what they are. All right, and what they are able to do for us. So now let's go to this thing, the next line of code. Right. Sorry. Right, using namespace std. Now what is it? All right, the std. All right, let me just show you. Sorry, let me go back here. Let me just show you what it actually is. Okay, just show you what it actually is. By the grace of God, internet is there, so we don't really talk plenty. All right, I just use it and then say it alongside by explaining what has been given here. You can also search it on your side as well. My internet is not really that great. All right, so in C++, std namespace is a part of a standard library. All right, which contains most of the standard functions, objects, and classes. All right, like C in, C out, vector, etc. All right. Now, when we talk about standard, let's read this one too. Using namespace std is a directive in C++ that allows you to use all the components of the std as the standard namespace without this word. By please help me. Explicit prefixing
Explicitly.
explicitly prefacing them with std All right. So I'll explain it. All right. So let's go back to the code environment. What I explain. Now, when you use namespace
Yeah,
std for
Freeman.
yes, please. Somebody
It
has a
seems
question.
like you didn't terminate the STD.
Well, I'm sure I did. Where is it?
No, no, you've not used the right termination. No, this one. Or that one too. You can use that one.
It is sorry. It's how you are seeing my code. It's how I've made my coding environments.
Oh,
The font style I'm using looks quite weird. All right, but that is it. The
oh, okay,
semicolon.
okay,
The semicolon. All right.
okay.
So the namespace std, all right, that's for my knowledge, that's two things. All right, first of all, it creates a certain standard. When we say we are creating a standard for something, all right, it's like a the basic unit of measurement for the thing. All right, to which if it falls below it, maybe a certain comment to be given, and if it goes above it, all right, a certain comment to be given, and if it is it to a different kind of comment will be given about what is happening. Okay, so STD creates this standard, all right, for all these things you are typing in your coding environment, all right. It just tries, checks, and make sure that whatever you are typing is actually belonging to the libraries you are stating, all right. If you don't, you write it like this, all right, you will have to type it at every line of code as the information stated here, all right. They said without this word, okay, prefixing, we know prefixing, that is putting it before every line of code, okay. Putting it before, you have to type this thing before every line of code you type, and I think we can all agree to that. That will be stressful. That will be very, very what, stressful. Okay. So it contains the standards, okay, the standard library components such as the C out, the C in, or it just checks everything and make sure that everything is being done well. So when you type a C out, okay, we all know that with C out goes with less than, all right, and C in goes with a greater than. So if you go and use the opposite for that, it really kind of like checks if you are following the given standard, all right, for coding these things. Okay, so it checks or gives you the standard. I hope we all agree or have like understanding of what I'm trying to say. If not, to like you can ask a question. But it's very important that we understand every line of code before we move on. Okay, so that is it. So since you do, thank you Joshua for the reaction. Since we do, let's move on to the next one. So the next one is int main. Sorry, I'm not okay. Int main. All right, then we create this parenthesis. All right, this parenthesis simply means that there's a part where you create something in the code called an argument. We will spend time to talk about that one. All right, it's like creating an argument is like giving something and supporting it with evidence. All right, just to persuade or kind of like convince others to believe your point of view. So if whatever you type here, if it ends up being true, all right, then whatever is followed in this curly brackets here is executed. Okay, so if whatever condition or argument you put inside this parenthesis is not true, then the code is going to ignore whatever is placed inside this parenthesis like as if it does not exist. Okay, for professionalism, it's always advisable to type your return zero. What this one does is that it returns that your code has run successfully with no errors. Okay, with no errors. All right. So alongside the running of the code, if an error is meant, this return zero part will not be executed because that error will stop the code from being running at that point when the error is detected. Are you okay? Because maybe you didn't follow a given what standard, all right, of coding. Okay, so that is that. Then inside this space here is where your actual coding occurs. This is where your magic occurs. And we have talked about declaring variables. So today, I'm going to make the lesson really challenging. And the more challenging it is, the better for us to understand. Because if you're able to break through all these challenges, then it means that we are masters of our own field. Okay, so I have already kind of like played along with some codes. Um, I think at a certain point, the lecturer made mention of the fact that some two individuals sent him a written code to cross check and all, and they were really good. And I was one of those two individuals. Okay, I sent him. I just played around with those codes. I sent for the purpose of I knew that one day people might also come onto my shoulder to for me to help them. So I just wanted to get certain things down, right, and approved by somebody who is I let me say recognized for the field, all right, approve it and put it down so I can use it to teach All right, so that's my motive for what I actually did, and alongside I learned something as well. Okay, so what we are going to do is that I would like us we are come to write an algorithm. So if you are by a pen or a paper or something, just try and then let's do this. Okay, we are creating inputs, all right, and inputs has to be stored somewhere. So we are, in other words, we are just coming to declare memory locations. Okay, and what we are going to do, we have to know what we are coming to do. First of all, we are taking ourselves as a driving company. Who is following? We are come to do something fun. At the end of this lesson, we are all going to be fine in everything in slide 4. All right. So please let's take this seriously. We are all of us are shareholders in a driving company. For now, I will name the driving company Richard. Richard, no offense, please. I hope you don't have any problem with that. So Richard Driving School, all right, or Richard's Driving School. Okay, so this is Richard's company. He's the CEO or the owner of the company, but we are all Joe, why? But we are all shareholders, all right, inside this company. Richard, please let's please be a shareholder in your company. All right. Now, an individual, let's all understand the fact that somebody is walking into the company. We don't know who that person is. We are going to interview the person to know who that person and to know whether the person is qualified legally to drive. Please, do you understand? So now we know what we are coming to do. Let's try and create the memory locations to store these things we want to know from the individual when that person walks into the company. So we are not many here, all right? We are not really that many. So I will allow each and every one of you your mics. Okay, I'm going to allow each and every one of your mics. Then we are coming to throw on me, all right, things that you ask that individual, because we are all shareholders. Don't forget, I said we are all shareholders in that company. So you are going to throw on me the possible things you ask that individual in front of you who wants to come to your driving school. The things you are going to ask that person as in terms of getting some data from the person to write down. So who can, in fact, who can, all of us, we are bringing down things. All right. So first person can raise your hand and speak. I'm in front of you. I want to attend your driving school. What will you ask me? All right. What are some of the questions you put to me? All right, Joshua.
Yeah, I'll ask, do you have a license?
Wow, but it's a question. All right. So do you have a license? It will come at a certain point. Okay. Do you have a license? Will come at a certain point of the question. Very good. Next. Come on, interactive class, please. We agreed. We agreed that we are going to have it. Okay, Emmanuel.
Your driving experience.
Your driving experience. Somebody who is coming for a driving lesson. Okay, that one too is fine. Emmanuel, thank you. All right. So it might be that the person has zero driving experience. Okay, I'm sure the person has zero driving experience. That's why he's there in the first place, though. Yes, Richard. Richard. I'm sure he's facing network problems.
Please, can you
Okay,
hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I think I'll first ask for his age.
His age. Okay, all right. Thank you. That's also a very, very, very good contribution.
Yeah.
So I hope you are writing this thing. We are come to create memory locations for these things. You are saying you are going to ask the person. Well, you're not just going to ask the person and throw the keep the information in your head. What about million people walk into your company a day? Are you going to keep all this information in your head? We have to store it somewhere. Write down. Write down.
Yeah, so firstly, I will ask the person's name and the person's contact.
Thank you. Write down.
Yeah.
I was really hoping for somebody to say name. Like we are saying this and we are ignoring the person right in front of us. Like, come on. That's the person's name. All right. So name. All right. Sometimes there will be a need. No, in fact, please, legally, the person sitting in front of you is a male. But on legal conditions, you, the interviewer, you are supposed to pretend like as if you don't know the person's gender. because he or she has all the rights legally to tell you that I'm a female. Please. So name, gender, contact, all these things are basic things you should ask the individual. All right. Whether the person is married or not. Okay, you should ask of the person's age. That will also automatically run up to tell you whether the person is of legal age to drive or not. I hope you understand. All right. And if the person is of legal age to drive, what will you tell the person? If the person is of legal age, but not married or married, what kind of titles? Because when you're telling people, when you're calling people, you should call them by their titles, all right? I'm not sure you are a married woman who has been in a marriage for 5, 6, 10 years, all right? And then I call you Miss. You see, you'll not be happy because you're a Mrs., all right? You deserve that title, all right? It's not easy to hold a marriage. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So you should also check the marital status of that person, whether the person is married or single, all right? And all you should check. You ask all these questions. So let's create memory locations for these questions. All right. So follow the lesson, and I'm sure you'll be fine. Okay. So first of all, I'll ask of the person's name. So how do I create a memory location for somebody's name? All right. I declare a variable because remember, different people walk into the place with different names. So how am I going to create a variable for this person's name? Oh, hello. We spoke about declaring variables. How am I going to declare a variable to store somebody's name? Joshua, you're about to speak. You have muted yourself again. We won't get anywhere if you actually don't contribute. So please, just make the mistakes, then let them be corrected. All right. It's not anything we are learning. All right. Okay. You said Joshua, come again. Okay. He's laughing at me. All right. Bye now. Bye now.
Yes, so before we start, the person's name, maybe you'll be like string equal to person's name or a string person's name.
All right. All right. All
Or
right. Thank you,
yeah,
Vida.
I think so. I think so.
All right, thank you, Vida. So we are just going to follow the sentence required to type or declare a variable name. We just follow the sentence, and the sentence is that you declare what data type. All right, it's going to be a string, obviously, right? Because I'm going to store character or characters inside there. All right. Then afterwards, we have to give it a name or an identifier to be able to identify the container. All right. So I will say maybe full name. Sorry, let me use camel casing. Okay, so full name. That's the name I'm giving to the container, and then I'll give it an initial value. All right. If I just do this, there's nothing inside there. I've not actually placed I've not assigned anything here because I've just typed the two quotation marks. All right. So to give it an initial value is to put a character inside there. But I can use any of the letters or a number or whatever, or you can just use the space. All right. So this space existing is, remember, the space is a character. The space is also a what? A character. So if we assign the space, all right, we have assigned something initially to the place. Are you okay? We have assigned something initially to the place. All right, so that is what and we have to terminate every line of code. All right, at the end of every line of code we have to terminate it. So that is what we are going to do as well. So we have terminated it. All right, so this is meant to receive a user what input for his or her full name. All right, and the next thing to do is maybe I'll be interested in the person's age. Okay, I'll be interested in the person's what age, and that is definitely going to be an integer for the reason that somebody's age can't be a double or a float, a decimal number, right? I can't be 2.3 years old. It does not work that way. So I'll create a container for the person's age. All right,
and probably I can decide to give it an initial value of 0, which is all we call it as advisable to do, to give them initial values, or assign initial values to them. Then I'll be interested in the person's gender, okay, and the person will either input male or female or whatever. So I think it's also going to be a string, okay. It's also going to be a string. I'll store here, then I'll name the container gender. Okay, then as I did for the full name, I can assign an initial value to it. All right, I can assign an initial value to it. So I'll do that. That's the space. I've just placed space inside there to be the initial value. Okay, so let me just try and arrange all my strings before my numbers. Okay, so let me just copy and cut this one, and then like put it somewhere like here, right, just to make all my genders my strings follow before. This is beautiful. Like, this is what making your code quite readable is all about. Okay, so even though we are talking about them in a different manner, try and arrange them just to make it readable, all right, or easy to pleasing to the eye. Okay, then I'm also going to be interested in, after I've taken the person's age, gender, all right, I'm also going to check the person's marital status. Okay, I'm going to check the person's marital status. The person is going to input a sentence, or for the whether being married, single, or divorced. All right, so that one too is also going to be a string. Okay, data type string, and I'll type marital. I hope I'm spelling this thing correctly. Marital
No,
status.
it's one hour. One hour.
It's 1 hour.
Yeah, 1 hour.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you for the correction. So marital status. All right, and then for that as well, I can also do this initialization of value with just a space. Remember to terminate every line of code. People, please make that a habit. All right, you don't want to really ignore that, otherwise you're always having bugs, and you'll be like, I've typed everything but it's not working. I'm not clear, I've just cut it just to put it here. Right, as I say, we are just trying to arrange everything as it's supposed to be. Okay, so I've taken the person's age, which will help me determine whether the individual is of legal age or not. Okay, I've taken the person's full name, gender, marital status, whether the person is single or married, just to know how to address the individual. Okay, now I want to go into the data type. I told you I will talk about it, but in due time, and that is exactly what I'm going to do now. All right, okay, you know what, let's just reserve it. We will get there. It is all going to be inside the school. All right, I'm talking about booleans. All right, booleans. All right, that's true or false. Okay, yeah, I'm going to talk about that. All right, so I can initially also declare it here, fine, but it's always best that whenever you are creating your conditions, let's just do it. So bool. All right, bool, data type bool. Okay, that's whatever is going to be stored there is either going to be true or false. All right, and I'm going to say it's male. You are just coming to check whether the person enters male or female. Okay, it's male. All right, but with this one I won't actually give it anything. Sorry, I won't give it anything. Right, then I also make one for is married. All right, is married. All right, just to see if the person is married or not. All right, so depending on what the person will input here. All right, for gender. Okay, if I'll create a condition for them, so you really understand. That's why I say let's just create the containers now. All right, you really understand. So let me just make one for is married. Okay, please don't hesitate to stop me at any point to ask questions. All right, so we have created these containers, all these memory locations. All right, now let's do some code. Okay, now how do I ask the person for his name? Anybody who have an idea? Definitely we have to use see out. Okay, I have to see out a certain message asking for the person's name. All right, so yes, but what kind of question do you think you will put to the person? Like, give me a question to request for somebody's name. I want the class to be interactive. I don't want to be the only person talking. All right, so Give me a question to ask for somebody's name. All right, Vida.
So see out, you enter the person's name.
The name of the person doing the thing.
Please, can you hear me?
Will be the one that will
Yes,
be
hear you.
named under the work.
Yeah, so now you enter the person's name.
No, you are not going to enter the person. The person is going to give you the name.
Okay.
All right. So right now we are
Yeah,
going
that's
to
how it works.
see out a message to the person requesting for his or her name. Okay, so that's what I'm asking. What question? How am I going to put the question to request for the person's name?
We're okay with that, right?
Okay, so it will see out what's your name.
See out what is your name. That is true. That is very, very true, brother. Thank you. So we are going to put it into a quotation mark. All right, that is all right to make the computer display whatever is inside the quotation mark. So what is your name? All right, or let's say full name, because we want the individual to enter his or her full name. Okay, not just a surname or whatever, just a full name. So what is your full name? Question mark. Okay, and then maybe we put some colon here. All right, put some colon here. All right, just to help let the now we are come to treat something in the we are come to treat something inside the slides now over here. All right, and this is very important that you know it. So now we have asked the person, we have seen out a message. All right, we have seen out a message asking the person, what is your name? Okay, what is your name? Now there are three things you want to do here. Is it that you want the person? Okay, you let me just type it and then I'll run it for you to see or appreciate it much better. In other words, I was come to talk about the end line. Okay. All right. So what this thing does is that, let me explain it before I run it. What this thing does is that, you see here's a message. What is your full name? All right. Then this thing, all right, is an instruction to this blinking cursor. Can see a blinking cursor on my screen. What it does is that it moves to the next line whenever this end line, it means that end this line of code, or end running this line of code, and force this blinking cursor to move to the next line to either run the next line of code or receive a user input on that next line, that is this space here. But if you do not use end line, all right, and then you just go straight to terminate it like this, what happens is that when the computer sees out this message, what is your name, the cursor will still be blinking at this point to receive the person's name right after it. Do you understand? But if you use this one, all right, it just ends that line of code and forces the cursor to move or blink. So we call them escape sequences. All right, it helps it pushes the cursor to the next line to blink. All right, to whether run the next line of code or receive the user input to be accepted on the next line. Okay, so when I run it, you really understand. So I'll first of all I'll run it without it. There are three of them and they all have a special thing they do. All right, so I ran the code without it. Okay, so first of all, I'm seeing out what is your name. Okay, so let's just compile and run. Just compile and run it. Then you see what will happen. Okay, my machine is not really, it's an Intel Pentium, so it's a really old type of machine. So please be patient with it a little. So it has seen out what is your name. Now it has seen out what is your name, and I realized that, okay, let's add this one first. Let's add the opportunity for the person to input the name, and we are going to use C in. All right, this is nothing new to you. We are going to C in, and what do you mean by C in? That what a person inputs, all right, store it inside a given memory location. So when you type C in, after the greater than symbol, you what do you call it, you declare or you write or you type which memory location it should be stored in. Okay, so we are going to store it at full name. Whatever the person will input will be stored at full name. So you terminate it. Okay, so now let's run it again. So this is going, first of all, this is see out a message, and it's going to give the user the opportunity to enter something to be stored in a container we have already created, all right, called full name. Okay, so let's compile and run, and then let's appreciate this much better. Okay, so have you noticed the fact that right after the question, what is your name, the cursor is blinking right after the column I place in the quotation mark. All right, the cursor is not blinking on the next line to receive the user input. It's blinking right after. What is happening here is that I didn't end this line. All right, so when I use end line, what happens is that it forces this blinking cursor to appear on the next line just to receive the user input over there at the next line. Do you understand? Right now, whatever I will type here will be right after it, and I don't think this is really nice. All right, so the best thing to do is that just for beautification, all right, use end line here. Okay, use end line here. Sorry, use end line here just to push your cursor to the next line. All right, so let's compile and run it again so that we see what is going on. So you actually see the difference between the two. Now, after compiling and running, you get to see that the cursor is now blinking on the next line to receive the user input. I will say, so this end line, we have end line, we have n, backward slash n, and then we have backward slash t. These three things are called escape sequences. They just push the cursor to a particular location you want it to. So end line just pushes the cursor to the next line. All right, the new or the backward slash, so in place of end line I can use this thing. Let's see, this is how it works. All right, that's the backwards slash n. This one is the same as the end line. What this one does is that it displays a message, what is your name, and when it gets here it pushes the cursor to a new line to be blinking over there to receive the user input and store it in a container called full name. Please, do we all understand? If you understand, a thumbs up. Okay, Joshua, thank you for the reaction. All right, so what this thing does is that it sees out the message, what is your name. When it gets here, it stops, looks at what this thing means that push my cursor, the blinking cursor, to the next line. Why should it go to the next line? Just to receive the user input and store it in a container called what? Full name. Simple as that. All right, and then some people might not be okay with the cursor blinking on the next line, but may not be okay. Joshua, your question.
Please, what of the backslash n and the asterisk?
Backslash n and asterisk. Where
Yeah,
are you
something
seeing?
like that. I've seen something like that before.
All right, then. Well, I'm back. What's it? Backward. Backslash n and then what? Asterisk.
And an asterisk. Yes, yeah.
Okay, I think I'll have to look on that one though. I'll have to look on that one. I know of these three as the escape sequence, but if there is any other, that's why we are here learning. All right, so um, let's try it and see what happens. Okay. So let's see, backward slash as like this and asterisk. That's what you're saying, right? This one.
I'm asking. I saw it. I'm asking.
Oh, I don't know of it. This is what I know. Okay, this is what I know.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now, as I stated earlier, some people might also not prefer that after asking a question, the cursor will be blinking on the next line to receive the user input. The person might like that, okay, after the question, okay, after the question, what is your name? All right, just some small space after the question, then the person enters the his or her input on that same line. So you can do that by doing this, all right. Remember, spaces are characters, and as long as they are existing inside these quotation marks, all right, which is a string, making this whole thing a string, the computer runs it as part of your code, so we can execute it and see how it comes out. All right, let's execute it and see how it comes out. So you can see that what is your name, and all the spaces I created with the space has been created here just for the user to enter the name over here. Do you understand? So all these places has been, as long as it's existing in the quotation mark, it is accepted as part of your code. All right, any other space existing out of quotation marks, when the code is running, it ignores it. So all these spaces here are ignored by the code. All these spaces after what you have typed there are ignored. But if it is existing inside this quotation, and I stated that here because we have initially declared something here, that is space. I know that space bar is a character. Okay, so there's something being stored here already. So the user just input something to replace it because it's a variable, and that is possible. Are we okay? Good. So either you do this, or that's when the next escape sequence comes in, the backward slash t, which is used for paragraphing. Right, it's used for paragraphing. So let's run that one to see how it will come out. Okay, you get to see that it's literally like what we just did. It's the same thing as what we just did. It will come out almost the same thing as we using the space bar to create that space, and you can obviously see that happening here as well before our cursor starts blinking. All right, so when we input something, all right, you see that that space has been created by the backward slash t. All right, so these three are what I know to be the escape sequences. The backward slash n performs just like the end line. I normally use this one because I feel really lazy. All right, in other words, sorry, I feel really lazy to type this thing and then later on come and do another less than and come and type end line. People prefer doing that, but I don't. All right, so what I do is that as long as this is allowed, upon putting something in a string, if I want the cursor to display on the next line, right, if I want the cursor to display on the next line, I just use my backward slash n. All right, and it works just fine. It works just fine. Okay, so for the purpose of this coding, most of us are used to end line, so we'll just work with end line for the purpose of the lesson. Okay, right, but I'm just giving you an additional information. So this thing is called an escape sequence. What does it do? It pushes the cursor to the next line to execute the next line of code. All right, good. So now we have received. Now let's see out full name. That is what is stored in full name. Let's see it out. Okay, let's see out. Let it be displayed to the user what has been stored in the container full name. All right, what has been stored in the container full name. We are displaying to the user what has been stored in the container full name. Let me put end line here. All right, so that to move the cursor to the next line to display the person's entry. Okay, so let me just put end line here. Otherwise, whatever will be executed here will follow right after this. Right, remember initially I did this, I just terminated it, so it means that the cursor will still be working here after running this code. So whatever I'm going to type next will be displayed right after it. If you think you are a bit confused, let me just run this thing and you see what I'm talking about. All right, let's run it. All right, so I entered the full name. All right, let's enter just something. All right, you realize that the Felix is displayed. What do we call it? The Felix is displayed. Hello. Hello.
Hi,
The,
can you
the
hear
line
me?
is
Okay,
breaking.
you can hear me. All right. So from the code, I'm trying to minimize it. All right, good. Let me close this one. Then let me bring this one here. All right. So you get to realize that, oh, sorry, let me just put this one here. Okay, so you get to realize that, let me select, where's the code? Where's the code? Where am I coding? Okay, let me just bring this one rather here like this. Okay, then let me use this one. All right, so you get to realize that from the code, all right, I did see I did this. All right, I received the user input, that is Philly. I type Philly or Felix. All right, and then I saw out Philly. All right, what happens is that the according to what we are seeing here, the question what is your name was asked. All right, and then I use end line pushing this thing to the next line. It pushed this thing, the cursor, to the next line to receive the user input. All right, that is the C in you are seeing over here. And when I entered it, I entered the line of code, and then I saw out what has been stored in the container full name, that is Philly. All right, now there is something I want to teach you here. It is not said in the slide. It is said around section 4 or so, or section 5, sorry. It is called get line, right? And yadru had ye yensua ne preko. Yadru ankwande yensua ne preko. All right. So the question is, we are asking for the person's full name. So let me type my full name. All right. Let me type my full name, and then let's see what happens. I'm typing not only my first name, my full name. Then you guys are going to ask me a particular question here, or I'll ask you a particular question here, depending who wants to ask the question. All right. So I'm typing my full name. I'll not type all my full name though, but at least I'm typing a name that contains two different words. Now, who can explain to me why after typing Felix Freeman as my name, it's only Felix that was seen out as stored in the container full name? Why? Why is that happening? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why isn't everything here being displayed as what has been stored? Because I entered everything here to be stored, inside that container. But why is it that when I'm looking at what is in the container, only Felix is being displayed? I think somebody should help us with why. Only if you know why. If not to, I think you all agree that it's a reasonable question to ask, right? We all agree to the fact that it's a reasonable question to ask, right? That when we looked into the container, all right, it is only Felix that is being stored there. Where did the Freeman go to? Now let me show you what is happening. When the code is being executed, all right, and then the computer, the user inputs something and then presses the space bar and then inputs something else. What happens is that in the container, this first thing is stored. Then the computer begins to try and see if something else was still stored, and then it sees space. The computer sees space and say that, oh, okay, then that is it. That is the only. There's nothing else here. So that is the only thing the person wants to store in the container, and then it ignores this, or it does not ignore it. It actually stores it in something called the input buffer. So it is actually there. It is not there, but it's not stored in a container, because alongside running the code, it ran to see what the person has stored in a container. But when it accepted this input and got to the space, the space bar I pressed here, saw that, oh, okay, space means that there's nothing there. It means that the person has done with his or her input. All right, and then left this thing in the input buffer. It's called input buffer because I inputted this thing we are seeing here. Okay, it didn't appear there. I inputted it, so it is stored. It is being stored in the input buffer, hiding there, doing nothing. All right. But imagine if I ask another question. What is your gender? That this Freeman stored in the input buffer will be assigned to the container gender and store it there. So right now, gender will have something called Freeman as the gender inside there. And whatever the user will input for gender will be ignored and also stored in the input buffer. All right. Let me quickly do that so that you understand. So let's take, for instance, I'm asking the person, what is your gender? Okay, what is your gender? Let's ask the individual that question. All right, so what is your gender? Let's ask what is your gender. Okay, and then let's store it in a container called whatever the input. Let's store it in a container called gender. Okay, now let's execute. No, first let's see out what to be stored in a gender. Let's see it. It's very necessary that we see out what is being stored in gender now. Okay, let's see out what is being stored in gender. So now let's execute this. Let's compile and run. I'm sorry, I think there's something that has not been done well here. What has not been done well? Let's read the message. All right, it says that
see out.
sorry. See out, and then I used the symbol rather. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you. That's a forward. So let's go. So let's see. All right, so let's take Felix. All right, Freeman. Okay. Who sees what is going on here? Oh, so no, in fact, let me separate this C out so that let me end line here so that everything is not displayed. You see that everything was displayed on one line because I didn't separate it with end line. Which one? Which one? This one. Okay, let me clear this one. It's this one. You see that after the Felix that is being stored in the container for full name, the what is being seen out for gender to follow right after, because I didn't separate these two line of code with an end line. So we see the importance of the end line. Okay, so it just pushes the cursor to the next line to display the next thing. Okay, so that's what has happened here. So now let's do this again. Let's compile and run this thing again. If I get an error message, it's because I've not closed this thing. Okay, it has occurred now. Now let me type Felix Freeman again. Sorry for always having to type this, but it's part of the lesson. So let's type it. Now, who noticed the fact that now let's really let's come to this. Let's see what is happening here. All right, so what is happening here is that as usual, this thing will not come. So let me force it to come here by force. Okay, so what is happening here is that, all right, I inputted Felix Freeman for full name. All right, when it needed to be stored in a container called full name, I inputted all these things, Felix Freeman. Agree, right? And then after that, I ask the individual what is your gender, and whatever the user will input should be stored inside the container gender. Have you noticed the fact that the computer did not even bother giving us the permission to input something for gender? Have you noticed that it didn't, after this question, it didn't allow us to input anything for gender? But what it did is that because something has already been stored in the input buffer, it assigned it for gender, as I stated earlier. All right, so how do we solve such a problem? So that everything here, all right, as I can input about a whole sentence for my name, all right, everything will be stored inside the container for full name. How do we solve such a problem? So that the container, the computer, when executing the code, all right, does not only identify this, and when it sees the space, say, oh, okay, space, then everything after the space should be stored in the input buffer, and then later on assign it as what I want to store for gender, because nobody's gender is Freeman. Do you understand? So how do we solve such a problem? We solve such a problem with something called getLine. And as its name says, that getLine, what it means is that it gets the entire line of input of a user. But bear in mind, getLine is purposely made for inputs that are strings. That is going to be stored into a string container. Please, not an integer, not a float, not a double, not even a boolean. All right, for something that is going to be stored into a string container. Please, let's not abuse this. People really abuse the use of getLine. All right, so please, let's not abuse the use of getLine. Let's respect what it is used for. Without withstanding, it can also be used for numbers as well. But when it happens, remember, it sees the user input as a string, so it stores it in here as a string. So don't later on call upon it to come and perform calculation to it like as if it is a number. You have to now change it, all right, using the static cast to change it into a number again. If you don't want to go through all that trouble, please use getLines for only strings. So this is how to use getLines. All right, so we are going to edit this whole code. All right, so what we just first type getLine. Okay, it means whatever the person is come to input, get the entire line, then put scene. All right, scene into parentheses, then comma, then where you want to store the user input right after it. All right, so I will explain it. Let's terminate it and then let's go. What I'm trying to say is that after they have seen out this question, force the cursor to move to the next line to receive the user inputs and store it into a container called full name. Whatever the user will input, get everything, including spaces and everything that follows after the spaces, even numbers and symbols as part of the name. Get the entire thing and then store it into the container called full name. Do you understand what is happening here? If any questions, let me just take a break so that you ask the question. If anyone of you have a question at this point, somebody should be confused. Or I'll consider myself as the greatest teacher of all. No one is confused. Wow. Interesting. And I'm doing well. So what happens here is that whatever is going to be received by the user and stored into the container full name, the computer will get everything on that line. That's what it means. All right. So I think it is ideal that we do the same thing for gender. Okay, we do the same thing for gender too. Let's do the same thing for gender, because after all, somebody might enter transgender. You see, maybe separate trans and gender. You see, people make mistakes. So to be on the safer side, whenever you are receiving user input that involves strings or storing it into a string container, always use get line, because nipa a cobra and nipa a cutlery says they can input anything inside there and then come and tell you that you didn't do your job. So to be on the safer side, user input that are string and are going to be stored into a string container, those user input, use get line to get whatever the person will input. Do you understand? Just to be on the safer side. All right. So now let's run and execute this, play with it, and then let's see. Let's execute. Sorry. Oh, right. I was supposed to compile and run. All right, but running is working just fine. But I still want to compile and run. There's a reason why we compile and run. Okay, so let's compile and run. Let's follow that procedure. Okay, so let's compile and run. Compiling just helps the in the process of converting it from the language, all right, into the machine language, identify certain mistakes inside. Okay, that's the whole concept of compiling. All right, so now what is your full name? Let's see. Let's enter Felix. All right, Freeman. Oh, I don't know why I keep on typing this Freeman with a small f. Okay, you see, now it has given me the privilege to enter my gender. People, are you seeing what is happening here? It is now giving me the privilege to now enter my gender. Why? Because the get line took this user input, took the space, took the Freeman, and then took everything after that space and stored it into the get line. All right, it got everything on this line of the user input. It got everything, every single thing on this line of the user input and stored it into full name. Do you understand? All right, then it now asks me this question: what is your gender? So I can input male, and you can see clearly that, oh, sorry, I think there's a mistake here, because I'm only seeing out the gender. I don't know if that's the only thing happening here. I'm seeing out, wow, what is happening? Because I'm seeing out both gender and full name. See out full name and line, see out gender. I don't know why it just showed me the what did it show? Only the gender, right? It just showed me the gender alone. Anyway, let me end line here. All right, let me just end line. Sorry, let me just. All right, so okay, let me end line here as well. Let me end line here. Line here. Okay, so let's see what happens again. If then there's means that there's something all right in it somewhere and we have to fish it out. Okay, so what is your full name? I'm really tired of typing this. Okay, then what is your gender? To type male. Oh, sorry. I see where the problem is now. Sorry, I see where the problem is now. I see where the problem is. The problem is the use of this guideline. I'll explain. Don't worry, I will explain. Don't attack me yet. I will explain. Okay. What is happening here is that I mistakenly, and I was hoping that you guys will see it. I mistakenly copied this and then pasted the entire thing and just changed. But what I'm storing, what is your gender, is being stored in full name. So what has been stored in full name already, All right, when I inputted male, the male now went and then changed my name that I put in full name and stored it again in full name because it's a variable, it can be changed. All right, so I was hoping that you guys will see that. So this is what I'm supposed to do. All right, sorry for the mistake. So now let's compile and run it again. All right, and I promise it's going to be different now. Okay. All right, now let's go. God help me with this typing of this. All right, gender male. And we'll obviously see that two different things are being displayed now. My full name stored in full name, and what I entered for gender stored in gender. Please, do we appreciate or we have questions? We might still appreciate and have questions. Do we appreciate what has happened and still have questions? You can ask. Or still everybody is cool. And I'm doing a good job. People. Okay, Emmanuel. Emmanuel is clapping. Wow. Okay. Hey, Richard. Wow, that is working. It's working. Wow. Wow. Thank you very much. If you are really understand. Yeah, Joshua. Joshua, what is it?
Oh, my it's an error.
Hey, your reaction is an error. You. All right.
No, I'm saying I
So
have an error. I have an error.
you have an error at your end.
Yes.
Um. Yes, it's good. Let's. What you are using your device to join the meeting, or you are joining the meeting on your phone?
I'm joining on my phone.
Oh, unfortunate. Like I'll let you share your screen, all right, so that you let us see what is going, so that we correct it. Because I like mistakes. When the mistakes happen and we correct them, everybody learns. But I hope you understand why when I was seeing out full name and gender, all that was displayed was gender. All right, because what I did was that inside where the user input for gender should be stored, I declared that it should go back and be stored in full name. So what I inputted for full name already was cleared away, and then what I inputted for gender was stored there, because these containers are variables. It means whatever can be stored, whatever is stored here can change. Okay, let's appreciate that. That's why I was only seeing male when I was seeing out both full name and gender. But when I declare that whatever the user will enter here should now be stored at gender and show me what has been stored at gender, it came differently. Okay. All right. So now that we have done this, okay, let's continue. Time is almost up. All right. Now let's go. Let's check. Let's ask the person's marital status. All right. So that one, how do we ask that question? Somebody help me. I don't know how to ask that question. Are you married? Are you uh, anyway? What is your marital status? Should I just ask it that way?
Yeah, so ask what's your marital status?
Okay, Vida, thank you. I think sometimes it is best to help. Please give me a second. Let me quickly plug my laptop while it's doing. A moment, please. Use my extension board so I get more connections. Okay. All right. Now I was just saying that it is really best that the question you ask your user of the program, you should try and then make it quite, try and give them some kind of options as regard to what they should input. Okay, the reason why I'm saying that is that, as I always say, nipa catalabi said, all right, you can ask what is the gender and he or she might say that, man, I didn't understand the question, so I went to input a number over there. All right, so what you are going to do is that you should kind of like ask the person, all right, explicitly, right? All right, ask the person that try and provide some options for the person as to what to input. So you can tell the person that you can either input male, all right, like this, or maybe female, like this. All right, so this is going to display as part of the question because it is inside the quotation mark. Okay, it's part of the quotation. Everything here, everything from here all the way to here will be shown out as part of the question. Are you okay? If I put a space here, this space will also appear. Space there. Exactly what I type will be displayed over there. Are you okay? So so I can also make it something like inside here. I can also put some brackets like this and say small m, okay, and then put some brackets here like this and say small f, all right, just in case the person does not want to really type, because in the process of typing mail or me the question a and I know you can also put a in place of what L, and these are typos, all right, and can cause kind of distractions in your code because you are going to create certain conditions that if the person types this, then something should be wrong. So what if the person does not exactly type what you are seeing here? Then certain mistakes are going to occur in your code. So sometimes it's always best to try and limit them to what they should input. So you can also make some capital M here, all right, or a capital F here, just to try and tell the user that you should input either of these things. Okay, all right, are we okay? All right, and then for what is your gender, what is your full name to? I don't think that one. Okay, that one there will be no need for you to, because you can't tell somebody how you should input his name anyway. So by this one, there you can actually tell the person how to go about the input. Okay, now we are going to see out something, and that is something to store in marital status. And Vida was saying that we should ask the question, "What is your marital status?" Okay, so we are going to do that. What is your marital status? Okay, what is your marital status? And what are some of the marital status that are out there? Can help us out. Just trying to limit the user on what to input. So what are some of the marital statuses out there?
Single
Single or married?
So the user
or
can either,
divorced.
okay, so the user can either input single like this, all right, or maybe let's just say only the same mind. And now on you're paying one same to don't show s per mind, and I say on small s mind. So what I say. Remember, this thing is not actually doing anything. All is what is being done is that it's being displayed to the user. It does not. It's not. This is not the conditions. We're just helping the user know what kind of thing to input. Are you okay? Please, are you following? Right. Then you can also say married.
Yes.
Married. You can also, or you can type married. You can tell the user to type. Sorry. Married. Or you can ask the user to put a capital M for standing for married, or small m. Sorry, M standing for married. Okay. You can also ask the user to input something like say divorce, right?
No, hello, Prima.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
So
divorced.
using capital M, someone might think that you are referring to male, or what do you think?
Okay. That is also true. You see, she's just checking the why did they mean I said, thank you for that observation. So let's say married for just M. Okay. Like this, right? Right now this will be fine. And I think this one will even go a long way too.
Yeah.
All right, do you know what? Right now, I explained to you why it will still work. All right, I'll explain to you why
Okay.
it will still work. All right, it will still work.
Let's use
Yeah, it will
small
still
letter
work,
for them.
but
Because
it will still
when
work.
we are creating the condition, okay, we are going to
Uh-huh.
say that if the person enters maybe M, all right, or small m, or this
So
for,
any.
yeah, for no for as what is being stored in marital status, then we can say that is married is true. You understand? We are going to create
Yeah, I
that.
get it.
You are going to actually see why it will work. All right, so the computer will just come and check if it is actually m that is stored over there, and if so, then marital status is true, or the person is married is true. Do you understand?
Okay.
Okay, so when we get there, you really appreciate it. All right. Then you said divorce, right? Somebody said divorce. I'm spelling it right. This is it, right? People help me. Oh, this is it, right? So that can be a capital D or a small d, just to shorten things for the user. All right. Are we following? But am I storing it at the right place? What the person will input, am I storing it at the right place? People, am I storing it at the right place?
No.
How am I supposed to store it? I should get whatever the user will input, all right, and store it where? Am I supposed to store it in gender?
No, like
I should store it where? The containers are here. So which one of these containers am I storing it in?
so string the marital status.
So I'm storing it in a container called marital status instead of gender.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's that's what I'm supposed to type here. Marital status instead of gender. Are you okay? So I want to see out marital status as well. Okay. I want to see out the person's marital status. I think I just copied this, so let me just control here. Okay. See out the person's marital status as well. Okay. Let's just execute, compile and run it. Let's see what happens. Okay. All right. As I said, it's a Pentium, so please forgive it. Okay. Now, you see what is going on here. People, do you see it? I think this. If we're the one seeing this, it is really nice. All right. Who agrees that it is really nice? Like
Yeah, it
it's
is.
it kind of like makes it look more advanced, right? So I'll enter,
Yeah.
just put maybe an M here like that. All right, then I go for it. You see it? See what is happening here? All right, it's quite nice. All right, so let's just input the same M here. All right, so you see that this M has been stored for this is my name. We are seeing now what is name, we are seeing out what is gender, and we are seeing out what is marital status. Do you understand? You see it right there. So when we are creating conditions, the conditions
Yes,
will just
please.
come check inside the container and see that is that what is actually there. Do you understand? Okay,
Yes.
does not really say that, oh, because the person has inputted M somewhere before, then no. It just comes and check inside that container and say that, okay, per the condition I've created, is that what is actually in that container? If it is true, then let that code run. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So now that we have been able to do all this, please, I'm taking you to 9:30 because we started at 7:30. Forgive me. Please, let's vote. I can't impose this on you. Let's vote. All in favor of 9:30. Raise your hand. All in favor of 9:30. Raise your hand. All in favor of Yampong to. Okay, so only one person is in favor of 9:30. Okay, Vida to. We are one, including myself. We are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 2 people, including myself, which is okay. So 3 people, four. Okay, so 1 2 3 4. Yes, we have won the vote. Majority carries the vote. Let's continue. All right, so all we have done is that we have asked questions, created where we have asked the user to input something per the questions displayed, and we told the computer to store it in a particular kind of containers regardless of what the person inputs on that line. Do we understand? All right, so that is that. All right, in other words, I can get rid of this, as I stated earlier. I can get rid of this um, end line and then put /t, so that right after the question there is a small paragraph and the person inputs something after on that same line. Remember, /t is to create a paragraph on that same line. If you want the paragraph to appear on another line, then you do something called back. Just use the same logic. Okay, I want the cursor to move to the next line, and then after moving to the next line, create a paragraph. Do you see what is going on here? All right, that's all you do. Okay, and I love this one more than the end line. All right, so just a paragraph after what is your marital status. Okay, no, I don't want a paragraph after what is your marital status. I want it to, otherwise what it will happen is that after it has received the user input, it will, whatever is being seen out here will follow right after it without the end line. Okay, but still, let's do it anyways. It will still work. So let's run it. Let's see how it goes. I hope it does not behave like what I'm expecting it to do. If it behaves with a good behavior, fine. If it doesn't, okay. So what is your name? We are receiving, because that one is still end line. We didn't change it. So it is here. In case you don't really believe me, it is here. Is it? What is your name? We are still using end line. We didn't change. That's why the cursor is blinking on the next line for me to enter or input. Okay. So Felix Freeman. Right. Then you see that when I ask what is your gender, the cursor has left a paragraph. Okay. And then give me some space. Now remember, you can use this /t as many times as you want, just to make the spaces more. All right, so I can use it 2 times. Let's just close this one, compile and run it again to see how it goes. All right, let's just close, compile and run to see how it goes. So again, this is not really fun to do, but I have to do it. Now you see that the space is now more. It's more than it used to be. You see, it's more because I use the paragraph sign 2 times. The escape sequence /, I use it 2 times. So
Freeman, please,
yes, please.
Emmanuel is has raised his hand.
Okay, Ima, please ask your question.
Oh, no, sorry, it was a mistake.
Oh, okay, but you understand what is going on, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm glad you do. So you can see that because I use this escape sequence /t, which is intended to create a paragraph. Okay, because I used it 2 times, the paragraphs the space doubled. Okay, you can also see that create a paragraph, but let that paragraph appear on the next line. So it's all about how you decide to play around with it. Okay, so we can compile and run this one to see how it will happen, how it will turn out. All right, so you see, let me type Felix. All right, Freeman. Yeah, now you see that what I did is that, oh, okay, sorry, um the paragraph it created was here, so it just moved the cursor to the next line after. So I think it is more ideal for, or more realistic, if you bring the next line. Okay, so move the cursor to the next line and then create paragraph. I think this one is more logical, right? So you move the cursor to the next line and then you create a paragraph on that next line. So let's try it and see. Okay, so again, I think I'm tired of typing this now. Let me just use Felix. Okay, so you see it has happened. So it moved the cursor to the next line, and on the next line it created this paragraph. That's why the cursor is blinking here. All right, so it all depends on how you really want your code to be seen out to the person. So I will prefer just creating a paragraph right after the question on the same line. Okay, so that's what I will prefer for this one. I don't know about you, but that's what I will prefer. All right, and I think I'll do the same thing for what is your name too. I don't really enjoy the use of end line. Okay, so in the parenthesis, I'll do this. Okay, so we can compile and run, and then we see how it will go. Hey, no. Sorry. I use new. You know what he's talking? I said create paragraph on the same line for the name. Hey, you people. So you see that right after the question, all right, a certain paragraph was created on that same line just for the user, and I think it's still nice. All right, just for the fact that it's not attached to this thing is still nice. Okay, I think it's just really nice. Okay, you see what is happening here? It's really nice. Okay, and I input capital M here, and then here I input capital M here. All right, so you see that it works just fine. Are we okay? It works just fine. So that is that we have been able to accept the person's full name, marital status, gender. Let's accept the person's age. 15 minutes more. Let's accept the person's age. So Vida, how will you or anybody who is interested in that, how will you ask for somebody's age? How will you put the question?
So how old are you?
How old are you? Okay.
Yeah.
See. So let's put that one here. So you can put everything together though. So all these ones were input for strings. So we are coming to input something for integers. So let's try and then separate it just for beautification or readability. Okay. So let's go with how old are you? Let's go with how old are you? Okay, how old are you? All right. Then we ask this person this question. All right. And then we'll say on the same line, we are expecting the user input to be received on the same line, right? By just that after the question, a certain space should be created. Okay. So then we see in the user input. We see in the user input. Now I'll come back to why I didn't use get. I think I said it from the beginning why, and you know why I'm not using get line, because I said that get lines are used for user inputs that are going to be stored into a string container, not an integer. Okay, so this is the how old are you is an integer, so we are not going to use get line here. So we are just going to see in and store it as what? At age. Okay, so let's see out what will be stored at age. Let's see out what will be stored at age. Let's see out what will be stored at age. Okay. Let's see out what will be stored at age. Initial value for what is stored in age is 0. It's a variable, right? So whatever the user input now, we'll go and clear the 0 and replace it. Are you okay? So let's compile and run. Let's see. So I hope the code is working at your end, though. Here, how old are you? Let's take 22, and let's say 27 or something. All right, so wait. It's displaying M with 27. Let's go and find out why. Okay, I think it's the reason is quite clear why the cursor did not move to the next line to display age. What has been stored, because I didn't use N line here. All right, so what was displayed in it just followed right after this. So if I use N line, it means that force the cursor to the next line. Okay, please do appreciate it. Force the cursor to the next line before you display the content stored in the container age. Okay, so let me close it and then compile and run it again. Oh, what didn't I type right here? It said that the function int main end was not declared. Oh, sorry. End line. People help me to identify the
Yeah.
mistakes.
So see out,
Then
you would have to put the marital status. Okay.
I didn't really type my end line where I just typed end. That's why the computer identified it as a mistake. Remember, there's a certain
Yeah.
standard I declared. People, there's a certain standard we have declared called using namespace std, so it really wants to follow that kind of standard in your typing of code. Please do you understand? It's forcing us to follow that standard we have
Yes,
declared.
Freeman.
Yeah. So if I don't type my end line well, I'm not expecting it to run or execute in the way I'm expecting it to. All right. Typing things so okay. Let me use D here for some for some reasons. All right, let's just make it look different. Okay, now we can see that name was displayed on and then the cursor moved to the next line to display gender, move to the next line to display marital status, and then move to the next line to display age. Okay, so that's what we have done. All right, then move to the next line, then displayed age. Okay, so that's what we have done. Okay, as simple as that. Now 10 minutes, let me just use the 10 minutes to use to help us put something into these containers. All right, we come to movie speed. So now that we have received everything we want to receive from the user, now we say if, okay, if and only if the person. Now I come to create an argument. I told you what this parenthesis is for. It's for creating an argument. If that argument ends up being true, then the code that is placed inside this curly brackets here is executed. If not, the system ignores it like as if you didn't type it. Okay, that's based on the user input. Okay, so if the user says that, all right, if the user says that gender, okay, we are saying if the user says that gender, all right, when we compare gender, all right, if the user say that gender is what has been stored in the container is male, all right, is the string male, or this is how we declare all right, we are doing logical statements now. All right, so this is how we type all. Is that the key is right above the enter key, the one at your right hand side. If you use the shift key plus that key, you see it is for all. Okay, or what the user has typed and has been stored in gender. Control C. Let me just copy this and repeat it. It's a small m. Okay, or again, the user has stored is the spelling of male like this for gender, or you can even say the spelling of male with a small m, right? The user can do that as well. Or who does not agree, the user can also do that. Or the spelling of male with a small m, sorry, like this. Let me shift it here so you see it like this. If the user, so this is what the code is trying to say. So the code will now go to the container, all right, and sees what has been stored in the container per what the user has input. Now this code, these two equal to signs here are called comparison operator. There are so many of them: less than, greater than, less than or greater than, less than or, they are called comparison operators. They don't assign. This is called an assignment operator. It means it will give whatever is here and store it into the, it has assigned it to it. But for comparison, it just go there and compare to see what you are saying, is it true or it is false. Okay, so it goes there to the container mail. If the user inputted this, it just compares. It does not, the two equal to sign does not mean that it has now given this to the container, into the container. It's just going there to check and compare. Okay, so it goes to the container, the memory location called gender, compares if that's what the user has inputted. Is it this, sorry, is it this, or as this, okay, or is it this, or is it this, or is it this? If it is any of these things, then we are saying that is male. We are saying that is male. Is male. All right. Remember, it can only store because we declared it to be a boolean. Is male should be equal to true. Please, who is following here? We are saying that go into the container. All right. We are creating a condition here. Go into the container. When you go there, check what the user has inputted and stored there. Is it this, or is it this, or is, and one, just one of these conditions is, remember how all operator works. We just need only one of these conditions to be true for this entire thing to be true. Do you understand? These people, do you understand?
Yeah.
So
Yes,
we just
please.
need only one of these conditions have this argument have typed here. We just need only one to be true, and then the code will run. All right. So in case all of them is false, and just one of it is true, the code will run. Okay. That's how the OR operator works. So we are saying that go into the container, call gender, or the memory location called gender. Check what the user has inputted. If it is any of these things, then the person is indeed male. So it's male, which we said here that it should store either a true or a false value. It should be taken as true. Do you understand? Do you understand what is going on here?
Yes.
Else, with else, all right, or else if. That's how we are doing an if else statement. So else if we are come to create another condition. So parenthesis, okay. If gender, I want to copy this thing, so I'll just change the this one to female. I don't want to type everything again. So Control C, and then let's come and paste it inside the argument here. So let's just change this one to capital F, okay, small f, female spelled with a capital F, and then female spelled with a small f. All right. If any of these conditions end up to be what it is, okay, then the code should be in this curly bracket should be run. The code in this curly bracket should be run. And we are saying that if that is so, then is male is what do you think is male will be if it goes into the container and sees that the person has inputted female. So what do you think is male will be?
True.
No, it can't be true. We said that if the person went there, we are saying that is that's what the is male means. Is the person a male? You went there, you checked. The person inputted any of these things. Okay, that's what has been stored in the container. That means that is the person a male? Yes, it is true. Do you understand? But if it goes there, that's what else if means. Else if you go there and you see that the person has inputted any of these things, is the person a male?
No.
So now this one becomes what? False. Do you
False.
understand?
Yes.
Do you get a logic going on here?
Yeah.
Now we say in case you don't go and meet any of these things inputted there, any of these things, whether these ones or these ones, then we say that then else. That one we don't create an argument for it. We just give the code to be run. So in case any of these things don't are not met, then we just say show the person or see out to the person. Let the person see this message that what you have entered is an invalid input. Okay, invalid. Is that an E? I don't think there's an E. Invalid input. Is that an E? Somebody should check it for me. Is there an E or there's no E? This is it, right? They don't feel me. Oh. All right then. All right. So now let's run it and see. Um, let's see out is male. All right. Let's see out is male. Okay. Now I would like to go and take um what do we call it? I would like to go and take this thing, Control X, all right, and then come and put it right on top of the condition, the container, all right, because what is going to be what condition is going to be done here is going to determine whether this thing will be true or false. So it does not necessarily need to be all the way up here, all right. So it's just let it be right above the condition, all right. So depending on whether the true or false will be assigned to this, depending on what condition is met here, right? And when we are done, we are just going to see out is male to see what will be stored there based on what the user will input. We are done. All right. I've even gone into the next lecture. All right. I've even gone into the next lecture. So let's see out what will be stored in a container is meal. All right. After. So let's run the code. Then we are done. Oh, sorry. I think I didn't do something right here. What didn't I do right? They said that see out Ismail was not declared in this scope. I didn't type the Ismail. Let me check. Ismail. Oh, I typed the Ismail with a capital I. Sorry about that. Let's continue. Now let's see. The person enters this as the name. Okay. I'm going to try the two possibilities. Then the person says that okay, I'm a male. Types it this way. And the person says that okay, I'm divorced. So D. Okay. Then how old are you? Maybe 23. Yeah. Okay. Um, this is it. Um, the person sees out the person's name. All right. The person's gender, and then divorce or not. Now let's come here. I think it's because I didn't really create. This thing is supposed to come here. Control X. It's supposed to follow after this, and then I'm supposed to create an end line here so they don't all appear on the same line when I'm seeing them out. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Let me compile and run it here. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, so apparently I'm a male. Alright. And then D. Let's put D here. Number 23. Now let's see what goes on here. Right. So what happened is that my name has been seen out as it's supposed to be seen out. All right. My name has been seen out as I want it to be. My gender has also been seen out. Then my marital status, which I entered D, has also been seen out. My age has been seen out. And why is there one being shown? Why is there one being showed? Is because one stands for true. You know what true enforces? True is 1 and then false is 0, right? That's the binary, true or false. You get it? All right. So I'm seeing 1 here because when it went into the container, all right, to check whether I am a male, it saw that I am a male, and we are seeing out whether I am a male or not. So the 1 stands for true. In case it came out as 0, it means it's a false. Okay, so it went there. All right, it went into the container. It's male. That the boolean container here is male. All right, and then checked. Did the person I inputted this initially? I think, which one did I input? A small m or capital M. So it went and saw that okay, one of these conditions was true. So therefore the person is a male. So that's why it displayed is male to be what? To be 1. Okay. So what if I say I'm a female? Let's see what will display. Let's do that and we have closed. Okay. We are done for the day. I will not really type everything here. All right. So let me use F, capital F here for that. And then let me use M here. Let me just type any number here. Now you can see that the end result of the is male is false. Why? Because I said my gender is female. So when it went into the container and checked, okay, I checked into the person inputted gender to be F, all right, or female or whatever. So therefore the person is not a male. So seeing out is male will now be false based on the user what input. I'm sure it's well understood. Anybody has any question, you can ask them. We end the class. It's already late, so we can end the class. If it is well understood too, you can give me a thumbs up and then we close.
Freeman.
Yes, please.
I beg. I don't want screenshot to this thing.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was really typing fast there. Let me minimize the size. Or do you know what? Let me just copy the code and then okay, can I let me put it in a premium group, all right? Let me just copy the code and put it in a premium. I hope that one
Okay,
would
okay, okay. Sure.
let me just copy the code. All right, go here and then put it in a premium group. So you can just copy it from there and then execute it and then try and see what goes into it. Oh, sorry, I only copied the C out is mail. Sorry, sorry. Let me go and copy it again. Um, go back there and then I think now it is working. There you go. So it's there, right? So you can go and then just use it, copy paste it, and then run it, and then try and see using the video. Try and see. I think Joshua is the only person that has a challenge. All right. So okay. Um, Kaim, Kaim, please. What's your question? Kaim, Kaim. All right. Hey, sorry, his mic has been disabled. Sorry. Kaim, please. I've allowed your mic.
Okay. So I wanted to ask, is it only this option that, like, if you want to just just let the compiler see out like the true itself without giving you like a binary numbers, how can you do?
Actually, sorry, it won't be able to do that in the sense that this true and false, you see the way they have pretend that they are reserved words, okay? So this true and false return one or zero, all right? The sentence it returns one or zero. You understand? So one for true and zero for false. So that's the only return you will see. Are you okay?
Okay.
All right, that is if you want it to return a boolean, but I can change this container to maybe string, okay, and say that therefore what should be seen out for is male is maybe true. So that's the word true. Do you understand? That one day it will work. All right, but it will not see it as a boolean. All right, it's just seeing it as something I want to display to the users, like what I did, invalid input. Do you understand?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's all it is. So I have to say that okay, this is not boolean. Maybe I'll now change the container to a string. Okay, I'll change the container to a string. Okay, are you following? I'll change the
Yeah.
container to a string. Okay, so now it's no longer a boolean. So I can't say that it should be true or it should return true or false. All right. So I will say that if they go and check in the container and then this, then I will say that see out.
Mm,
You understand? Now say that C out is male, maybe is equal to true, or is male is equal to true. So I'll say is male, right? It's equal to this, all right? The string true. Do you understand? Like maybe something like this. Are you
yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Then then I'll say that here to okay, control C. Let me just use control C. Right. Then
Okay.
in this case too, then is male should be like false. Okay. You understand? Then when I see out is male, right? It's not going to return these sentences for me. Do you understand? Any of these sentences based on the condition. Do you understand? It's going to return any of these things what for me. But if I want whatever is stored here to be a boolean, then it is only going to return zero or one. That is true or false. Do you understand?
Okay. I've been using the string. That's why.
Oh, okay. Okay. So this one will not really notify what has been stored inside there as a boolean. Okay, it's just going to like you are assigning true to a smell because it's an empty container. right? You have declared an empty container. So if these conditions are true, then assign the string true to for the container into the container is male. Do you understand?
Okay.
And if these conditions are true, then assign this string false into the container is male. Do you understand? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
All
for that.
right. I'm glad I've been able to answer your question. So let me just undo all this. Sorry, undo this one. All right. Good. Okay. So that is that. I don't think there's any other question. So let's call it a day. All right. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye bye. Thank you.